Hello, I'm Sam. I'm half of a micro indie studio called Canteen. It's just me and my wife Vicky. We work together making weird narrative games. We're really trying to make games that feel a lot like reading like a really good sci-fi short story. We're currently working on our second indie game, and I've been wanting to do some kind of small devlog-ish style videos where we talk more about kind of the stuff that we've actually learned while making the game, stuff that we've discovered about the game itself, just kind of about the craft of making games. So I'm going to start with a problem that we've been trying to solve, and I think we have kind of solved over the past couple of months. But first you're going to need a bit of context. So the game is a typing horror game that's a bit like an old school text adventure. In the game, you're playing as someone who is sat at a desk doing a day job where they have to remote control human beings to investigate an abandoned spaceship. You might already be able to have a guess at what the problem is just from hearing that description. I think it's quite a common problem that indie devs come across, and especially indie devs that are working in kind of not super mainstream genres, or maybe you're trying to combine a few different genres together. And the problem is that our game wasn't doing a really good job of explaining itself, of letting the player know what the fantasy of our game even is. Our game had too much weird stuff happening right from the very start. And because we are trying to make a weird game, when we were working on it, we really liked adding all this weird stuff and we thought, oh, this is coming together really nicely. But stopping and reflecting back on it, we realized that there was so much weird stuff that players were having a really hard time kind of understanding who they even were, like what the world was, like what they were supposed to be doing and what was expected of them. Not only that, but when we were working on our tutorial, our main focus was trying to teach you how to play the game. The game is a typing game, so it needs a whole bunch of extra work to make sure that you really understand how to control everything. And I'll probably talk about more of that in a future video. But yeah, we focused purely on the mechanics in our tutorial and really didn't put much effort into understanding or trying to explain the fantasy to the player. This lack of fantasy is also made extra hard because our game is being a bit weird to begin with. So normally in a first-person game, you are playing as the person whose eyes you're seeing through. You are the character who you can see the world. But that's not quite the case in our game. Because in our game you're playing as someone sat at a desk doing a day job, and that person is remote controlling other humans, lots of the time you're seeing the world through the eyes of the person being controlled, not through the eyes of who you are as a player. We kind of go a bit nutty with how many different layers and who you can control in this game. And if someone were to ask me how deep could you go? I don't know, it's like full Inception. I actually don't know the answer to how deep you can go currently. Anyway, to kind of sum it all up, the problem our game was having was that we were doing a bad job of explaining this you're a person doing a day job, remote controlling other people fantasy. Before I go into what we did to fix any of this, we're a tiny indie team, it's just me and my wife. So if you want to subscribe or like the video, if weird narrative games are your thing or you're interested in following along, any of that support will really help us. So how did we fix this problem? Well, we slowed the start of our game right down. Beforehand, we were trying to get you into the typing gameplay as quick as possible. So you started off in some very weird abstract space. There was a giant mushroom, a big void, a computer desk. You just sit down, load up into the kind of world where you're controlling humans, and off you go. But now we start you in an elevator, and the doors of the elevator open up to quite a clear office space. This really changes our first impression. You've gone from kind of being in an odd, strange world, there's a big mushroom, you're like, what on earth is going on? To now you're like, I'm in an office. When we were designing this office space, we've pulled a bunch of inspiration from Severance and Backrooms. We want it to be recognizably an office, but there to be a little hint of there is still something weird going on here. Now that you're in an office, it should really help ground you and set your expectations. It should hopefully be really clear that, cool, this person I'm controlling, the camera's eyes I'm seeing out of, this is an office worker, and that's who I am as a player. The first thing we let you do once you're in this office is get told off by your manager. Having someone talk directly to you let's just have really clear exposition. Instead of having to like have the player like figure out, oh, like I guess I'm doing a job, I guess I'm controlling humans. Our manager can now just directly tell you that. We get to prime you for what to expect, but in a way that's also like flavorful and fun. What's more relatable than something going wrong at work and then having to sit through a telling off from your manager, but they're also trying to be a little bit nice because they know that once they're done, you still have to go off and actually finish the work. There's a couple of other cool bits we're doing in this moment. So the first is we sneak in just a tiny bit of typing gameplay to help you understand, cool, this is going to be a typing game. And then the second is that now that we have the manager as an established character, we can start playing with that and doing cool stuff much later in the game. So, as I said, this game is a weird game, so you're going to have to stay with me here because I'm going to skip forward a whole bunch and I'm not really going to explain anything. But later on in the game, you're going to start hallucinating, and you can hallucinate scenes with your manager. This lets us show moments of your manager contradicting themselves. They can say things that kind of don't back up what they were saying before. They give you little glimpses of the like kind of the grand conspiracy that we've got going on behind everything. And we can also give you cool reward moments like having the manager just be on fire. Anyway, to wrap it all up, our game had a problem with explaining its player fantasy to players, and we fixed it by really slowing down our intro and making sure we were spending a lot of time and energy just having the player get to be in that fantasy before we started doing some of the cooler, weird bits that we were excited about. Thank you very much for listening. I'd love to hear if you've got any like questions or if you want to hear like more about any like topics or anything like that. The game itself is called Remote Control. You can find us on Steam. I'll put a link down in the description. And like I said before, if you like this or you want to like follow along, please like or subscribe. Or that's it. Like and subscribe the video. Sweet. Thanks.